Hi everyone. This video is aimed primarily, I guess, at people who maybe haven't been in geocaching all that long and they've got some finds and they are thinking of hiding their first geocache. Terrific, more power to you. Before you rush out and hide your geocache, there's some things you need to think about. You need to think about obviously where you're going to hide the geocache and what would be an appropriate container for that location. For example, in an urban environment, you probably would not put an M18. Couple of reasons. One would be that it's possibly going to be very easily found by people who aren't looking for it, and also ammo tins by their nature may be seen as potentially dangerous. So in an urban environment you might be better off with something smaller, like a snap lock plastic container, something like that. Okay. Out in the bush, of course, the opposite could hold true. You might not, for example, want to put a micro or bison tube size container in because it's going to be very difficult to find. An ammo tin, obviously regular size, you can put more in it, but they're incredibly weatherproof, very hardy. I've seen these things survive 10 years in the bush without any problem, so that might be a good choice for out in a bush or wilderness or woodland type environment. With any geocache, in my experience, where possible, try and put it in a sheltered or semi-sheltered situation, and by that I mean rather than just have it sitting out in the open where the full force of the weather's coming straight down on it, if it can go, say, under a rock ledge, or maybe it's inside a fallen log, something like that, so that the weather's not pounding directly on it, you're going to stand a much better chance of your geocache not letting water in. Brings us to our next point, choice of container. Weatherproofing is vital. Your standard everyday lunchbox that you might give to the kids to take to school is generally not a good choice. You really want to look for a container that's probably got an O-ring type seal. It's a plastic container, and that'll give you a much better chance of keeping the water out. Well, what we'll do, we'll zoom in and we'll have a look at some of these containers, talk about some ideas and options of what you can do, and we'll go from there and hopefully give you guys some ideas. Now when it comes to your container for your geocache, it's really only limited by imagination. There's all kinds of variations on the theme. It doesn't have to be just a standard box. All sorts of novelty caches out there, puzzle caches, you name it. The more creative you can get, the more people are going to enjoy your cache. You can start with just a bullet container. This is called a bison tube. Now this is a micro size. They come with a little keyring. I've put a bit of wire on. This would be ideal to maybe loop on a tree branch, something like that, so you're not causing any damage to the tree, but you could loop it. Equally, I've put one in recently in the fork of a tree. It's in the leaf matter, and all I did is I just looped that through like so. The cache container sits down under the leaf matter, and that loop of wire just tails out the top. Not very noticeable to anyone except if someone's looking for it, and that's working quite well. At the very least, all your caches are going to have one item in them, and there's only room in this particular container for one item, and that is a log sheet or a logbook. You can see that there. Now, this one, I got this online, didn't have to pay for this. If you're looking for log sheets, you can buy them, of course, and they usually have write in the rain paper and that type of thing. But if you're on a budget or you just want to make your own stuff up, and I certainly encourage people to do that, you can print them out online. And that just pops in, and you always put it in the lid so that way it's inside that thread, and you just screw that back up. I just quickly diverge onto log sheets. That came off a sheet like that, I think from memory. On an A4 sheet you print about 5 of those things. Just cut off a pair of scissors or whatever, and there's your log sheet. So that's easy enough. The other thing in a bigger cache you'll normally get as a bare minimum, and we'll have a quick look in this one, this would be a small size cache, is what's called a stash note. You can see in here I've got a logbook, I've also got a cut down pen, and there's an additional piece of paper in there. Now that's a stash note, and again, just search online, you'll be able to find these. Just do a search for geocache stash note. There'll be plenty of these available for free. Download them and use them. And basically what that does is it tells anyone who finds this accidentally why it's here, and it also gives down the bottom there the geocaching.com website. There are many versions of those around. I've got a couple of different ones here. These ones have been laminated. That one would fit in a small cache. I don't know if you can see that. Same information on a bigger one. This is something that I tend to put in my ammo boxes. Again, that's been laminated. You don't need to laminate them. Just put them in a plastic bag. That's the ones you just saw before. As I say, you get 4 of those out of an A4 sheet, I think it is from memory. So all that's available for free on the internet. Just get onto your favourite search engine of preference, and I'm sure you'll be able to find those and just print them out and make use of them. Okay. Whilst we're in this particular case, we'll just have a look at what's in here. So we've already decided we've got a pen, we've got a logbook, and we've got a stash note, and they're in a plastic bag. Basically that's to give them an extra chance of staying dry, a snap-lock plastic bag. What else is in here? It's just a few swap items, nothing terribly exciting there. You don't need to spend a fortune. Go down to your local cheapie shop. Something like this is handy. If you're unpacking gear at home and you find these silica gels, don't throw them away. I know it says they don't throw away, but don't. And they're great in caches. Again, it just gives you that little extra chance of keeping everything in there nice and dry. It's amazing how easy moisture will get into even in a container like that. Okay, back to cache types. Micros. These are very popular in Australia for micros, and anyone who's cached in Australia has no doubt found them. It's a mint tin. Really great little thing. These are surprisingly weatherproof, and if you put a magnet in them, and I've got one magnet here I prepared earlier, this particular magnet is half of the magnet out of a hard drive. Basically, if you've got any old hard drives laying around and get your hands on them, strip the magnets out, and they're normally about double that length. You can snap them in two, they're quite brittle, and that's plenty powerful enough on its own. So you'd pop that in there. I normally recommend a little bit of epoxy to hold it in place so it doesn't kind of go wandering around. And if we try that on the M8 tin over here, you can hear how hard that goes on there. As you can see, that's not going to fall off in a big hurry. So they're very popular containers, and you just paint them whatever colour or colours you need them to be to blend in with whichever environment you're choosing to put them in. Generally in those, they'll just be a logbook cache. You can of course fit micro coins and such in them, so they're really popular. You can buy caches, containers. A lot of the geocaching websites you'll see these things. They're I think they call them decon containers. They're a military thing. Not bad. I've just put a bit of paracord on that. Again, I could loop that on a tree if I wish to. Don't know where that's going to go yet, but if I don't need the paracord I can take it off, but that gives me an option to have it up off the ground. These are really good weatherproof containers, all plastic. Another one you can get these days is a larger bison tube. As you can see, it's a standard bison tube, and then you can get these mammoth ones, which are really cool. They seem to be aluminium, and again, you can see there the O-ring that unscrews. And I've already got the usual things in there, logbook, etc. Don't know where that one's going to go. That's going to go somewhere pretty special. Again, you're paying for those. It's not the cheapest way to do it, but I picked it up, and these are also now starting to come out with these fancy little codes on the bottom of so people can scan them in. Alright, ammo tins we talked about. They're great things. Now, two things with ammo tins. As mentioned, don't put them where people are likely to find them accidentally. Bush is the place for them, and don't put them out looking like this. It's generally not considered a good idea to have these military markings and ammunition markings on these things. At the very least, get a bit of spray paint or something and spray paint those markings out. Now, I like to actually get into the spray paint a little bit and indulge my limited artistic sort of indulgences and do a bit of camo work on them. And the idea of the camo, of course, it's just going to hopefully blend in with where they are and maybe break up that rectangular shape a little bit so that they'll be a little bit better hidden. Terrific fun. You can do that with your plastic containers. This is one I used to have out. It leaked because it was in a fully exposed position. I may use it again if I can get a shelter position for it. One of the things I did on this one, and some people do this, is the bottom I didn't paint. I masked that off when I painted it, so if anyone finds it accidentally, without having to open it, they can see that the contents are safe and it's not something dangerous. What we're going to do on a future video, probably film it after this, is we're going to turn a plain everyday Systema container, which is the brand name of these containers, into one of these, and we'll put all the contents in. And basically, if you're a raw beginner and you want to know how to put a cache together, and we'll show you how to do that. You could put this out with the contents in just as is, but of course be aware that it's not going to be as easy to conceal, so you'll need to use the natural environment to conceal that. Some people do. It's not a problem in its place. You can certainly do it that way, and at least that if someone does find it accidentally, it's harmless and you can see there's nothing in there. But again, I like decorating. So, to sum up, think about where you want to hide your cache. Think about what's going to be most appropriate. Do you need to camouflage? If so, the colours, that type of thing. And the other thing to consider carefully when you're thinking about placing a cache is it's an ongoing commitment. It's not just a matter of I'll place the cache and forget it. You're signing on to do maintenance and to look after that cache into the future. If it gets full of water, it's your responsibility to go out there and fix it up and maybe put a new logbook, maybe put a different container out. Also, the other thing to consider is if you just come into geocaching, maybe you've only got a few finds and you're really mad keen to put out a hide, don't. Basically, wait till you've got a good number of geocaches found. It gives you an idea of what's out there, what a good geocache is, what an average or below average geocache is. I won't put a number on it, but if I was maybe 100 finds, let's put a number on it, what the hell. And basically by that stage you've got some experience and some knowledge about what's going to be good and bad. That's just a number. It might be for you, it might be 50. You might get your head around and go, okay, I want to put a hide in, I found a great spot, I know what container I want to use, etc, etc. It's good to get out there and put hides in. It's a whole new element of the game, and I mean, if people aren't putting new caches out there, there's nothing for anyone else to find. Alright guys, thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Happy geocaching.